Frankie, let's talk running back. Rookie running backs here. Jonathon Brooks, running back for the Carolina Panthers. I love this running back, man. He just reminds me of an old school Eric Dickerson type runner, you know. 6 foot.
Good drop.
You like that one? Yeah, I pulled that one out, baby,
like
out of the
that.
archives.
Yeah.
6 foot, 216 pounds, runs a 4.54 40. Frankie, introduce us to Jonathon Brooks.
Jonathon Brooks was, for those of wanting to learn a little bit more, he was the backup to Bijon Robinson at Texas. So what that means is the dude has played serious level talent, has learned from Bijon Robinson, and was able to do a lot of good things for Texas until his ACL issue back in November. So let's just talk about the situation he's in, right? He's in Carolina. What does Carolina have? They are dog shit. They are really bad. I mean, really bad. And so he also has Chuba Hubbard, who definitely is not as athletic, is a nice way to say it, or should I say well-rounded running back is what Jonathon Brooks is. But Chuba Hubbard still had 902 yards, 5 touchdowns last year. So if you start thinking about Jonathon Brooks and maybe you plug him into the same situation, knowing that, you know, in his last year, he was second team all Big 10, 12 or all Big 12 conference. He ended up having 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 25 receptions, almost 300 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. With the receiver type of hands that Jonathon Brooks kind of has, man, I think that Jonathon Brooks could step into this role and absolutely dominate. Now, let me be crystal clear here. You would be drafting, and we'll get into this in a second here, John, but you're not taking Jonathon Brooks right away, man, to have him potentially start right away. This is a guy that we'll look at towards the back half. And so I know we'll hit on that. But who's a good lookalike? Who brings this Jonathon Brooks comp to life? And there's one guy, man, when it was eerily scary how similar the routes that they were running, the way that they caught the ball with the hands and not the body, and the way that they cut internally within the holes from gaps pretty much 3 to 5, right? Basically the 2 guards, things like that. John, it's Aaron Jones. This dude is like a carbon copy, young version of fucking Aaron Jones here, man. And to give you some aspect, Aaron Jones' rookie season in half PPR, he had 80 points. And so I don't think that that's completely out of the realm for Jonathon Brooks. I actually think Jonathon Brooks will eclipse that probably by double if he gets the opportunity. So for me, man, I think that, yes, it's a tough situation with the Carolina Panthers. Yes, they've been the worst team for the last 2 to 3 years in the NFL. But let's just say this. You can pick Jonathon Brooks up. You draft him on your team. You now have Bryce Young with an additional year. They're revamping some of the offensive line. You draft and bring in Xavier Leggett. You have you brought in Diontae Johnson to help spread and widen the field now. You also have that of Jonathan Mingo and Adam Thielen. So this offense is already better than last year by a lot. And so now you bring in a running back who was a superstar who unfortunately got hurt. And so now if he comes back to form, man, Jonathon Brooks could be amazing on this team. So I really, really like where he could be heading in for the Carolina Panthers.
Well, the good news is with Jonathon Brooks, I mean, the injury's baked in. I think if he came into this season fully healthy, he would obviously be a much higher draft pick here. But you're getting him at about 90 overall ADP. He's the running back 29 off the board right now. So I like that. Round 7, round 8. So now we're looking at, taking Jonathon Brooks as your running back 3, your running back 4. You're looking at guys around him are going to be, very similar situation as Nick Chubb. Gus Edwards, Austin Eckler, Tajay Spears. Are these, how are you looking at when you're going to draft and you're looking at Jonathon Brooks on the board in the tier with those guys? Where do you want him? What kind of roster construction do you want to have so you can pull the trigger on Jonathon Brooks?
John, I don't want to have to start Jonathon Brooks. I don't want him to be my RB2 in the beginning of the year. What I want, and you named a couple guys, like Nick Chubb, for example. I'm drafting Nick Chubb over him. You named the first guy. Who was the first guy that you named as well prior to Nick Chubb there, John? If you remember. And I know you've mentioned Tajay Spears.
Gus Edwards, Nick Chubb,
Edwards,
Zeke Elliott.
I'm taking Gus Edwards over Jonathon Brooks because I think the floor is a little bit higher there. That's the only reason. But over Tajay Spears, over Zeke, over things like that, absolutely you're going to take Jonathon Brooks. And John, again, this is a wait and see. Is he going to form into, now understand what I'm saying? I'm going to say Amon-Ra. I'm not saying the Amon-Ra that just got fucking paid, right? And he's performing the way he's performing. I'm saying rookie Amon-Ra, who showed nothing first half of the year, dominated back half of the year. I'm talking about Garrett Wilson. Great or nothing first half of the year, dominated back half of the year, rookie season. So, John, that is the same mindset that you need to be in when you are drafting that of Jonathon Brooks. So what you would need to do from a roster construction standpoint, John, in a perfect world, you're thinking round 7, round 8, based on his ADP and his ECR. Guys, you need to have established a core running back. And then if you want to go receiver, tight end, QB, for me, man, you got to go back-to-back running back at that point. You can't just solidify Jonathon Brooks as your RB2. Because you think about it, if you draft a running back in first round, then you go receiver second, receiver third, then you go tight end 4, you go QB 5, maybe you go receiver 6 again, right? Because now you have a couple flex positions. Now you're looking at running back. You can't have him be your solid RB2. There's already too much competition. He's a rookie in a tough team. So for me, man, no drafting him. You're drafting him knowing that you're waiting for the back half, and I think you'll be really happy.
I think he's one of those guys like a Nick Chubb. You can't draft both of Nick Chubb and Jonathon Brooks because you're just going to have plugs in your roster. You can't sit on those two guys. But it is going to take him a few weeks to get going, but it is really interesting. I will absolutely take a chance on him as my running back 3 or 4.
Definitely.
But also loading up on a few more to back up to make sure.
Yes.
Probably 2 or 3 back-to-back after taking Jonathon Brooks because you've got to have that security. But mid-season, yeah, man. I mean, this is where you could really see him and do some work. So I'm excited to see him, man. It's going to be great.